Hey you guys, it's your girl T. Now I wanted to come on here and talk about the whole Mike Brown situation. Everyone's been asking me to do a video, and like I said on Facebook, I really don't even know how to put all this into words, what to say, so I'm just gonna let it just come off the top of my head. So yesterday was real crazy, and if you follow me on social media, we had so many discussions, so many dialogues. We were waiting for the whole Mike Brown verdict to take place. First they said it would take place about 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock came and went. Then they said 7, that came and went. Then it wasn't until after 11 Hip Hop Hollywood, which was about 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, that the verdict came in. And I had tweeted earlier that day that I felt like the reason why the verdict was taking so long for them to say anything was because Darren Wilson would be getting off and that he would not be charged with anything. And sure enough, when it came out, they stated that he would not be indicted, that the grand jury saw that it was self-defense, and that he would not be charged or held liable for the death of Mike Brown. So when this hit the internet, I'm talking about social media went crazy. Now, Ferguson had been trending that whole day. And after that, Darren Wilson was trending, Mike Brown was trending. And it was almost like an eerie calm. You know, folks were upset. There was a lot of rumbling on Facebook, a lot of rumbling on Twitter. And all of a sudden, all these vines started popping up. She's like, why? And, you know, she's like, they don't care. And she's going off. It's like these little short vine clips started popping up on my timeline. And so after the verdict was read, it's like there was like this moment of calm. Everybody was trying to figure out what was going to go on. I was watching CNN and Fox News. I'm flipping back and forth between the two stations. And then all of a sudden, Dr. Drew's like, St. Louis, Missouri Police Department is tweeting that their cars are being bombed with Molotov cocktails, that people are fighting, that there's rocks, that there might be possible looting. So I go onto their Twitter page and I start taking screenshots and I start posting my Facebook page. And sure enough, like I said before, the powder keg has been ignited. Shit's about to go down. And literally within 20 minutes of that, all the news coverage focused on the burning cars. Then the looting started and folks just started going crazy. And like literally like my heart broke just watching all this, because I know deep down in my heart, you know what I'm saying, I'm a slight conspiracy theorist, you guys know that, but I do not feel like this was the people of Ferguson who did this. I really feel like there was agent provocateurs in the audience and in the crowd to stir up shit. It's like everything to me, like I said on Facebook, everything to me read like a Hollywood screenplay. You know what I'm saying? Mike Brown's mom is all over Vine, all over Instagram, all over Twitter, talking about why they're showing her reaction. And then it was like within 20 minutes, then you start seeing the burning cars, and then it's almost like that was like a signal. You know what I'm saying? Catch her reaction. Once we post on social media, now it's about to go down. Soon after that, it was just nothing but lawlessness and chaos. And it was just sad just to see people, you know, burning down stuff and looting and going crazy. And of course, you know, the racists were having a field day. And of course, these people and these so-called looters somehow became the face of Black America. And this is typical Black behavior. And Black people are monkeys. And how is looting going to bring back this dead boy? And it was just so much discussion. A lot of people were disgusted by the behavior, as was I, because I just feel like, you know what I mean, at the end of the day, looting doesn't solve anything. I had lots of discussions with people in Cali. You know, a lot of my friends were texting me back and forth yesterday, and they were saying, you know, they went through the same thing with the LA riots, and it took years for that part of South Central to even somewhat bounce back. And even when you go to Florence and Normandy, when you go to where the LA riots and stuff went down, it still hasn't fully bounced back. You know what I mean? Because once those folks got their insurance money, they got the hell out. And now all the pictures are coming out this morning showing all the damage and everything else. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some of the pictures of the damage of last night. I'm going to come back with the rest of my commentary.
Of all the intense reactions that ruled Ferguson Monday night,
I'm angry.
These people work very hard for this business right here.
None were stronger than those of Michael Brown's parents, as they learned the grand jury would not indict Officer Darren Wilson. The New York Times posted a video that showed the raw emotion the moment they heard the news. What caught many people's attention in that video were the words of Michael Brown's stepfather that could be seen as a call to violence to protesters. As the clip gained traction on the web, some noted the words were in direct contradiction to Michael Brown Sr.'s PSA released earlier in the week.
Hurting others or destroying property is not the answer. No matter what the grand jury decides, I do not want my son's death to be in vain.
On Tuesday, the Brown family attorney addressed the video and criticized those who would hold it against them.
It's raw emotion, not appropriate at all, completely inappropriate, and, you know, God forbid your child is killed the way they kill, and then they get that just devastating announcement in the manner it was announced, and somebody put a camera on your face. What would be your immediate reaction? So don't condemn them for being human.
Welcome to Black Friday. They hit up Toys R Us, man. It's fucking going down. They hitting that shit up, bruh. I'm just gonna ride by for y'all. Ride by so y'all can see, my nigga. They straight got it.
What are those on?
Right here.
Why didn't they just rob it instead of like they did the other one?
Record it.
Shit.
Record it.
Oh shit. Motherfuckers blazing.
They in this motherfucker, dog. They in this motherfucker, dog. They in this bitch, dog. They taking all stuff from everywhere. The looting has definitely fucking begun. And I told you we was gonna be out here, my nigga, out here at the next scene of the crime, the McDonald's, bruh. They out here. Look at that. See that? Out here straight getting it, bruh. Walgreens is on fire. You can smell it. It's, I mean, literally. Let me see. Can I zoom in for y'all that's not here? Like, this is absolutely crazy right now. It's crazy.
So you guys just saw those pictures of the morning after. Why would they want to ruin their own community? Why would they want to burn down their own stores? Why would they want to ruin their community like that? That's why I feel like a lot of the folks who started this, who started the fires, were people from outside of the community. Because at the end of the day, they can burn down Ferguson. They can, you know, loot the Walmart. They can loot the Walgreens. They can loot the beauty supply stores and then go back home to St. Louis, to Joplin, to wherever else in Missouri and go lay their head. While the people of Ferguson are left to pick up the pieces. You know, so I just think this whole situation is just sad. And in the words of Gil Heron, he said that the revolution will not be televised. But last night, that mini revolution that went down in Ferguson was not only televised, it was tweeted, Vined, Instagrammed, and Facebook. It almost felt like a mini revolution was going on, even on social media throughout the country. People went down to Times Square. They were marching peacefully. Friends were My same friends who was texting me in LA, they said folks were out there basically stopping the freeways. They were laying down on the ground. You know, they were all going hard for Mike Brown. There were protesters all over the country. People were getting down and protesting in Chicago. There were people protesting in Atlanta. So it was a lot of stuff going on in a lot of major black cities. You know what I mean? But it seemed like the media more or less focused on the looting and the violence as opposed to the peaceful protesters. The whole Mike Brown verdict, the whole Darren Wilson situation, it brought on a lot of good dialogue. You know, folks were mad at Don Lemon because he was throwing shade, talking about, oh, he's over here by the protesters and all he smells is weed. You know, Don Lemon was clowning real hard yesterday. There was another really touching story that was going across social media about these two young men. They ran all the way from Atlanta to Ferguson, Missouri. It took them about a week to get there, but they made it just in time for the verdict to go to where Mike Brown died. So that was a really, really touching story that's floating around social media as well. My thing is this. So now it's the next day. And if you guys remember, I sent out this tweet last night and it was retweeted by so many people on Twitter. Like I tweeted last night, in the words of MLK, a riot is the voice of the unheard, okay? So like I said last night, after all this is said and done, now what? What is the plan? Y'all done damn near burnt down Ferguson. There's no businesses. The people who live in those housing complexes, the people who live in that neighborhood, what are they supposed to do now when they need to go to the store and go buy supplies? You know, what are they supposed to do now in their community? Because it's cool to be an armchair revolutionary on Facebook. It's cool to be a coffee shop revolutionary in Seattle. But what are we going to do for the people of Ferguson? What can they do to build back their community? Because it's easy to burn this motherfucker down. Because you heard a lot of people talking, burn it down, fuck peace. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of being, I'm tired of turning the other cheek. I'm tired of peace. Cool, and I understand that. But what's the plan? The only plan I'm seeing so far on social media is to not shop on Black Friday. To spend all your dollars with black businesses. I mean, that's cool. That's a start because we definitely need some type of group economics going on. So that's definitely a start. But how do we plan on rebuilding Ferguson? Because these folks out there done damn near lost everything. And like I said, the same thing happened with the LA riots. When you're a business owner, are you going to chance rebuilding your business back in the same place where you lost your business for no reason? These were hardworking people. So regardless if the people in Ferguson did not own those businesses, regardless if these were not black-owned businesses, these were still people's businesses. These were people's livelihoods. There were people who were employed at those businesses. So at the end of the day, folks are out of work. Folks are not making any income. And once that insurance check comes, they are going to leave Ferguson. They're not going to rebuild in the same community that destroyed them. That's what happened during the LA riots. Once a lot of the Asian business owners got their, their insurance checks, they got the hell up out of South Central. And South Central in that whole little area was left penniless. There was no economics there for a long time. It took, from what somebody told me, it took about 7 years for a business to even come back in South Central. And then once that business came back, then soon other businesses followed. But for 7 years, nobody was there manning any of those burnt down buildings and shops. No one wanted to rebuild anything. They wanted to get their money and go rebuild their businesses in a safer part of town. And I fear that's what's going to happen in Ferguson. These riots did not help the situation. You know what I mean? Rioting, looting, that's not going to bring back Mike Brown. It's not going to get Darren Wilson indicted. At the end of the day, all we did was hurt ourselves. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be upset, but let's channel that upset, anger, hurt, and frustration. Let's channel it into some type of plan. Let's all come together because folks like to get crump about it, but then at the end of the day, we all disperse. And that's the same thing that happened with the LA riots. The Bloods and the Crips came together. You know what I'm saying? All the black folks in the community came together, but what did they do? All they did was party. They had no plan. So what ended up happening is that everything just kind of filtered away. The truces dissolved. We can't have that happening. We have to come up with some type of solid plan. Like I said, group economics is a good start. You know what I mean? Putting money back into black businesses and supporting black businesses. But there has to be more done. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so easy to say burn this motherfucker down and burn down Ferguson and, we'll teach the white man and we'll teach this and that. But at the end of the day, while you're sitting there tweeting and typing to burn something down, are you going to replace those buildings that are being burnt down? Are you going to stimulate the economy? Are you going to send jobs down to Ferguson? You know, and that's the part that bothers me, is all these agent provocateurs online and in the crowd and people hyping people up. But again, there's no plan. So after everything has been burned down, it's a new day. What now? What now? You know, and I'm not saying that I have a plan, you know what I mean, because I'm only one person. But I'm saying that I think the leaders in the community, the people, need to come together and figure out what they're going to do. Because right now it's bigger than Mike Brown. Right now it's bigger than Darren Wilson. They were the spark in the powder keg that kind of ignited this. But now it's affected not only the people of Ferguson, but the state of Missouri and now the country. Because now the whole country is focusing on this. And the whole country is looking at this like, what the hell? What the hell is going on? And if this can happen in Ferguson, it can happen in LA. It can happen in New York. It can happen anywhere. Because there's so much tension that's going, there's so much racial tension that's going on right now between black and white, between the police and everything else. And a lot of folks are saying, well, I don't understand why black folks get so mad when a white cop kills a black person, but then you got black on black crime and you got black folks killing each other. Yes, that's true and that's fine and dandy, but let's not deflect. At the end of the day, this young man was shot upwards of 10 times. It was not that serious, regardless if he was still in a box of cigarettes or not. It was not that serious. Nobody deserves to lose their life over something like that. I'm not saying that Mike Brown is innocent. And when I saw that video of him in that store and how he treated that store clerk, I was disgusted by that video. And that's why I say a lot of times as people of color, especially black folks, we just have to know how to carry ourselves. We have to have emotional self-control. Because they're going to use whatever they can, regardless if you're here or not, to determine your character. And regardless if he was a gentle giant to his family and everybody in the community liked him and thought he was cool, what the media is going to do, what the grand jury saw, and what people are going to go off of is that video of him in the store. And I believe that that's what really got Darren Wilson off, is because they were able to play that video and basically say, this is the real Mike Brown. This is who he really is. He's a robber. He pulls, you know, he throws his weight around. He tries to pump people smaller than him. Because if you look at the statements, that was one of the things that Darren Wilson kept saying, is that he was so much bigger than me. I'm so much smaller than him. But regardless of the situation, he was still a child. That's why I say, you know, we have to learn how to carry ourselves, because whatever you do can be used against you even in your death. So the whole situation is just a mess. But at the end of the day, none of this rioting, none of this violence is going to bring back Mike Brown or get this man indicted. We have to figure out a plan. We have to be smarter. We have to have more emotional self-control and not just think to just start burning stuff down, because now what the media is doing is all those looters are now the face of black America. All those women running in there stealing hair weaves are now me. You know what I mean? All those guys running around, you know, shooting their guns in the air and lighting shit up are not every black man in America. These are blacks, typical black behavior. Look how they behave. Look how they act. When 90% of black folks are like, that shit's not cool. You know what I'm saying? I don't agree with that. I would never do anything like that. But somehow this is now the black community. You know what I'm saying? Somehow the black community, you know what I'm saying, is approving of this. Nobody's approving of this. And a lot of these people were planted there to start this. Like a lot of this was planned. I feel like they made this announcement at night because they know folks was going to go crazy. And then it's a lot harder to film. You can't really catch who lit the first building. You can't really catch who lit up the first car. For all you know, it could have been a police officer. But we don't know because it was all under the cloak of night. So people need to wake up and see the big picture. You know, it's really sad. The whole situation is just so disheartening. And I understand the rage. I understand the frustration. I understand the anger. You know what I mean? People, it's easy to sit and judge folks who are poor and say, well, just get a job. Just get yourself out your situation. But it's hard. It's like, I don't care what city I'm in. I've lived in a lot of different places. I've been to a lot of different cities. The same poverty, the same poor, the same folks hustling, trying to make ends meet. It's all over the country. It's just not in Ferguson. It's just not in LA. It's just not in Detroit. It's not just in Atlanta. It's not just in Charlotte. It's poor people everywhere. And folks are really hurting right now. Folks are losing their jobs. I mean, it's bad out here. And I think that's what a lot of that was just frustration. They don't got shit. And when you don't have shit, you don't care. I think that that's where some of that frustration was coming from. It's just like, oh, well, I don't have nothing, so you're not going to have nothing. It's a sick mentality to have, but it's a lot of folks with that mentality. So like I said, I feel like we need to come up with some type of plan. There has to be a resolution for all this. Don't just be mad and just tweet about the shit. Don't just be mad and Facebook the shit. We have to come up with a solid plan, especially for black people, people of color. We have to, you can't just let this die down. You can't let this spirit of revolution and people, you know, wanting to get involved. We can't let that just cease, because we like to get hyped up, you know what I'm saying? And then after a day or two, it's like, yeah, remember Ferguson? Moving on. You know, we move on so quickly in this country. It's sad. And like I said, we have the blueprint from the LA riots. Let's not repeat that, because they came together and all they did was party. And then after a while, it was just like, damn, they had no plan, no leadership, no structure, no nothing. So I think that we should do better than that and come up with something. But these are just my thoughts. I don't want to go on too much of a rant. But like I said, the whole situation is just really, really disheartening. And it just broke my heart just seeing everything go down yesterday on social media. It was just like, I felt like I was in a dream. I'm like, this can't be life. You know, this can't be life. Bad enough that he got off scot-free. Nothing's going to happen to him. But then to watch that city burn like that, and to just watch people out there just, you know, just chaos, utter chaos. And I was watching the live stream. You know what I'm saying? People were sending me so many links. So I wasn't even getting all my shit off of CNN and Fox News. I'm watching the live stream. And just to hear the emotion in the crowd, and, you know, they're going off at the police and F the police. And I mean, it was just so much emotion. It was just sad. I literally felt like I was right there alongside them, because so many folks was just streaming live. And, you know, kudos to all those people who risked their lives to go down there and stream live for us here, you know, at home, so that way we could be part of the action. Because all of us couldn't go down there to Missouri and, you know, couldn't be down there. But they kept us up to date, you know, minute by minute with what was going on. So I respect all those people who were down there, you know, being fair journalists, not trying to twist the words around. So anyways, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts about the entire Mike Brown situation. All right. Deuces.